Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. I'm Spiritual Coach Lisa Hobb. It is Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to this broadcast, thank you so much for coming on. I hope that you will like and subscribe if you're discovering it on YouTube. And if you discover it on Facebook, I hope you will share it and also like it. If you're coming back, thank you so much. You know every week that I'm on here, I give you tons of appreciation, and that's genuine appreciation. I am authentically overwhelmed by all the positive feedback I have received regarding my podcasts, regarding YouTube videos that I will be doing again shortly. I'm going to shoot for this week. And generally just also genuinely all the wonderful feedback I get about my work. Yes, on occasion, like anyone in a spiritual vocation, you do get naysayers and people that want to be challenging. But overall, I've been very blessed and really honestly overwhelmed by the amount of positive testimonials, emotional and just large testimonials that I receive. It makes it all real for me and what I intended, and I'm not finding the words as quickly and as eloquently as I would like, but they matter to me, not in an egotistical way, but because I do feel that I'm on this earth to serve. And so when I get feedback that says that I'm doing it in a positive way, it matters. Now you may notice my breathing, and you might even get a cough out of me. My system really weakened over January. We're now happily in February, and I'm much better, but I still occasionally feel like I simply can't breathe. And I'll bet that a lot of you have felt that way too, haven't you? What a January. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you're on Facebook with me, on my personal Facebook page, but I actually celebrated in a small way the new beginning of my new year. I really wanted January 31st to be New Year's Eve again. And a lot of people understood that. It felt like there was a whole year in January. Not only, as I told you in my last podcast, was I physically drained and couldn't speak or cough a lot of the month, I was also depressed because I didn't have any energy, and I also was absorbing what wasn't good for me, which was the whole topic of last week's podcast. I am on the way back in a large way, on the mend, and starting to come into a place of feeling myself again. But the physical symptoms are still there a little. So as you may know, if you are a bit of a follower of this podcast, I tend to decide upon my topics very shortly before. And yes, I've done it again. I actually decided yesterday of what the topic would be this week. And just before I got on to do my podcast just now, I saw another person that I like to follow talk about a topic related to this past week, the last 7 days, that they felt were timely. And that topic is, why is life sometimes so short? You know, what is the purpose of the length of our lives? And that was, that struck me. And that's definitely something that I would like to talk about. So what I might do today is blend two topics for you. and hope that in their way they are aligned and they do kind of mold together with a smooth type of rhythm to them. So the first topic I'd like to speak about today is I'd like to address these times in our lives. Because I know that I'm not alone in how I've been feeling. Many of us, and you may be included, have felt recently a lot more anger, a lot more sensitivity, a lot more defensiveness. I'm saying a lot in this broadcast, so please excuse that. We are feeling a lot more depressed. We are feeling a lot more rage. And that is actually very divinely timed, because we are, and I may have hinted of this before, I know I have in my YouTube videos, especially to the beginning of them. We are going through a bit of end times. We are going through the end times. It's hard for me to honestly say it, because it comes with such a scary kind of feeling to it for a lot of us who are raised in very traditional religions that were taught about the end times and about horsemen and trumpets and war and judgment. And so it's not something I say very lightly, but we are, and we've been going through it for quite a while, but now it's becoming larger. And the signs are so obvious. And interestingly enough, I'm a spiritual person, and I'm more spiritual than religious anymore. But I have a religious solid foundation. I pray every day to saints. I pray to Blessed Mother Mary. I pray to Jesus. I pray to angels. I speak to angels. And so I have that foundation. I celebrate Easter. I acknowledge Lent. I make Lent a time of reflection. So of course, I celebrate Christmas because I'm more of a Christian. I am a Christian, but in the way of religion, I celebrate the Christian holidays, is what I mean. But I think a traditional Christian that goes to church every week would say, you're spiritual. And I'm laughing because just a little while ago, someone used that word spiritual to actually try to insult me. So that's why I had a little giggle there. It was not a client or a friend. So it was someone in their own place, put it that way. But being more spiritual, I look at these times less from the fear of the Bible and more to what I know is going on, and also what I know from my intuition, what is going on, and from connection to my peers of what's going on. But why I said interest, oh my gosh, guys, interestingly enough, I was speaking to someone the other day who's very conservative, traditional, religious, very much. And yet, they also see the signs of the end times. Now, I would imagine, I don't want to assume, we didn't go that much further in our conversation than that statement that they made. But I would imagine they might have a different expectation of this time than I would, just because it can be that way. So I'd like to take a moment during this podcast to explain to you why we are in a time right now of such hatred, such bigotry, such divisiveness, such rage, such sadness, such depression. And what is the purpose of that? And what is the end game? Because there is a light at the end of this tunnel that is better. And I found out something very interesting recently, because I always assumed that yes, we're going through the end times, but would it really occur during my lifetime or your lifetime? And then I had the great privilege of learning from a psychologist, astrologer, and shamanic healer practitioner named Heather Ainsworth. Now, she is a special kind of astrologer. She's almost like an astronomer too. She has gone through history and studied. She knows about what was happening with the planets 12,000 years ago. And at the start of the beginning of time, she has been to Egypt. She has been to other ancient civilizations and studied what has gone on in history, what events have happened according to how the planets were lined up. And it's all very interesting. I always thought that perhaps these end times were going to be much further in the future. But Dr. Ainsworth feels that according to the current alignment, that this particular time is going to end November 25th of 2021. No, 4 years from now, 2024. Sorry about that error. And once we end that cycle in 2025 is a transition into what some may know as the age of Aquarius. I like to call it the time of heaven coming to earth. For some of you, it may be that day when Christ comes to earth. It will not happen in January 1st, 2025. But this cycle that we're in right now is part of the process of getting there. So all of this will end or start to come to a completion then. It's like we move away from it. Which means that we may have to have another 4.5 years of it. And I don't want to go there as to what that means as far as government and all of that, because in working with my clients, I have seen changes that line up a certain way. And I don't want to speak of that today because I don't want to interfere with the overall will. But don't assume of what it may mean as far as leadership and that type of thing. But yes, it may mean that this time that we're in that is more divisive may go on for that much longer. And hopefully our free will change to make it perhaps in some way dissipate sooner, and hopefully won't stall it beyond that November 25th, 2024 cycle. Now, the good news is also that we have averted a lot of rougher stuff, believe it or not. There have been wars that we have averted, and that is because of our will. Ultimately, those of us who understand about positive thinking, prayer, positive beliefs, positive feelings, the power of manifestation, have been able to whoosh away some rougher stuff. And you may not believe that, but it's true. So we can affect our climate. We can't, yes, Marianne Williamson was right. We can affect our climate. We can affect some things, but ultimately, yes, we should do what we must. But ultimately, part of all this that's going on with our leadership, with our personal relationships, with the climate, all is enthralled And that divine chapter that is now coming to an end is actually the end of a 12,000 year cycle. So it gets worse before it gets better. Now, another good thing is that there is a reason for all of this happening. In order for this new age to begin, we all have to go through healing. Us individually, the earth as a whole, the universe as a whole. And so, all this rage, all this depression, all this screaming at each other about nothing sometimes, all of this, honestly, mental illness sometimes, it's all part of the need to heal. How many of you who are hearing this wonder sometimes what's wrong with you? Why did I go off? Why did that trigger me? Why did I go off about that? It's because things that you need to heal are rising up. And my sense is as well, not just what's within you that needs to be healed, but also what needs to be healed with your ancestors too. We're not only healing ourselves, we're healing what our parents and our grandparents and all have felt and done and been and dealt with. So you may feel that, yes, you're actually healing the sins of the father, so to speak. So that is why all of this is occurring. It's a need for healing. And you are the one that has to do it. It starts with you. And there are ways to do it. There's hypnosis that can help. There is starting from a place of always being of love, no matter what. Trying your hardest, speaking, feeling, giving love. The unconditional kind. It's about service to others. It's about understanding that we're all one. It's about correcting what needs to be corrected, forgiving the past, closure where it needs to happen. It's about self-love in the way of how well you're taking care of yourself. It's about acknowledging and doing it with love. This is where I want to go. This is where I've been. This is why I hate them, because it's a mirror to me. This is why I'm angry, because of this. You may be surprised as you ponder it. And meditation is excellent, 10 to 20 minutes a day. But you may be surprised at what pops up. I didn't know it was that, perhaps. It's not always straightforward. It's not always black and white. And we're all going at our own pace. And there's not really one person on this earth doesn't have something they need healing that they know about. Sure, there may be some ascended masters on the earth that are helping us, and they're pretty clear. But for the most part, everyone among you is trying to heal something. Trying to let go of some wall, some block, some burden. Forgive them as you would yourself. The situation, the people, the past. And catch yourself. Why am I worrying about what everybody else is doing? Why do I care about that? Why do I care about this? But also at the same time, it's important to know that this is a time to see what's truly going on and to know how powerful you are to play a leadership role. No one at this time is supposed to be quiet. If you see something going on that isn't right. And also, Be very slow to judge. Matter of fact, heaven would tell us not to judge each other, because every single one of us lives in glass houses. So be very slow to do that. And that's really happening a lot. Don't assume that everybody who disagrees with you hates. Don't assume that everybody who disagrees has a certain belief system. We're all individuals. Well, we're one, but we're individuals within the one. And be yourself. Accept yourself. Be authentic you. And then look at what you've got and see how you can feel that it's more perfect. I say it that way because heaven only looks at your light and sees that perfection. So over the next, if Dr. Heather is correct, over the next 4.5 years, Lordy, we might have it rough. It won't always be, hopefully, a hellscape, but during this time, concentrate on healing and stay away from what doesn't make you feel better. And I don't mean be disillusioned in an illusion. I mean, don't keep yourself too boxed, but it's all right to take a break. It's all right to step back and take care of your mental, physical, emotional health. That's what I mean. Because there's a tendency nowadays to just want to be on your own team and be in your own little bubble. And the teams, they watch only certain things, only certain networks, only certain radio shows. They only talk to only certain people. They only want to be around their own kind. We don't want to do that because then we get jaded and we're not informed. I said to a friend the other day, the truth is outside those boxes. And so it's important. It's important to be informed. It's important to participate, but it's important to take care of yourself at the same time. Now, how do you know you're ready for the new age? That you've awakened and you've healed. You'll be happy. Things will bounce off of you. You'll have stronger intuition. You'll be using your intuition. So many people aren't using their intuition. Just off the mark. They're just like off the pier. You'll be using all that. You'll feel a stronger presence of God and your angels. You'll be talking to your departed loved ones more. You'll love more and hate either next to never or not at all. Probably a not at all. Your cry for happy. And every once in a while, cry for what was. And there would just be a clarity. And I want to say that again. There would just be a clarity about really what's going on. And you'll know no matter what, it'll be all right. And I wouldn't be surprised if you even understand heaven more. And you will care less about money, most likely. But that doesn't mean you won't have it. and you will make changes easier. You'll understand I have to honor myself, and I have to live according to my own life purpose. And I have to live according to my own worth. And I just want to be happy to help others. I'll know that I'm just a village. We're all a village. Those are some of the signs. And to put it in one line, what you care so much about right now in a lot of ways, you won't care for anymore. Heaven on earth. I want to talk now briefly about the other topic I was drawn to. As you probably know, last Sunday there was a horrific helicopter crash, and yes, there was an NBA star on there who seemed to who did impact a lot of people in a very positive way. And there were children on there. And there were teachers. And from all accounts, just really good people. And one of my friends on Facebook posted this, and I don't know where she got this number, but she said, since that date, 37,000 deaths have happened. I wonder who counted. Yes. Every day we lose people on this earth physically. And sometimes they're young, and sometimes they're 90, and sometimes they're 105. And sometimes they pass and they don't say goodbye. And sometimes they give us a long goodbye. We all come to this earth for a purpose of learning and expanding and growing and experiencing this beautiful, amazing life. And we know when we come that we only come for a time. And we know before we come that there will be moments that we can go or we can stay. And the last moment we have on this earth is the moment that we say with our soul to heaven, I feel done with my work, with my life closure. And there's this common misperception that love can keep them here, or that something could have prevented that. And that is absolutely never ever the case. Because when we leave this earth, it is between us, our soul, and our Creator. The two have to line up. And if God's not ready for us, or heaven's not ready for us, we're staying. And if we're not ready, we're staying. And the grief is for those left behind. Because those who go to heaven, and most do, they're fine. They are where there's only love. And we look at life, don't we, when someone passes young, as a child or as a 41-year-old, like Kobe. And we think life's unfair, too young. But I have to say, not that you should not grieve, because of course it's natural. I grieve. Because I physically miss people. But to that person who has passed, where they've gone is better. They're safe. They're loved. They can help all of us here more. So it brings home that I, as human Lisa, can never know for sure how long a loved one of mine is going to be on earth. I watch their wills so I can prepare myself, and I can tell when wills are up and down. And when a will is down around me, I respect that that will is down, and I jump in and I make sure I say what I would want them to hear, and I take care of them, and I prepare me to be all right as much as I possibly can. But sometimes I'm not looking. And so it's so important every day to tell people that you love them, to not waste 1 second, to live your life to the fullest, and to see that everyone around you is living their life to the fullest as much as you can. To fill up each day, and then to be grateful for having known them, and to pray for them when they go. So the length of life, it is not about how you live. Meaning, you know that there are people who eat very unhealthfully and live forever, and there are people that eat the best diets and exercise that pass young. It's not to say you should do whatever you want, because we have to have a quality of life. It's about the will. And the will knows when the life is completed. My sense, and I may speak out of turn without meaning to, but my sense about Kobe Bryant is that he felt very satisfied about his legacy. In some way, he felt peace. And he also had a quiet sense, at some level, that he would be there for his wife and daughters. And the one that could not be without him, that was like his twin, her soul had to join him. But I am not in his body, or was. I can just imagine that he must have had some sense of peace. And I don't know about the other people, but their journeys spoke to that in some way as well. I'm being very clear. I'm not being cold or thoughtless about death. There's no such thing as death. I'm just explaining that the importance is life and relationships and love and happiness and joy, and appreciating everything and everyone, even during these hard times. Reach for the blessing. Reach for the light. Because you never know when you're going to have to let someone go. Unfortunately, we don't have a say in another person's journey. We can just hope that we can have a piece of their journey before they go. There's much more I could say about birth and transitions and our life purpose. But I'm going to leave it at that today. And I hope whomever is listening that needed to hear that, I hope it helps. Because a lot of people are going through a rough time now with loss. And I'll leave it with everyone listening to my podcast is an extraordinary human being. And for those of you who experienced loss recently, for those of you who've been wondering what your worth is, you've made your mark. You've left your footprint. You have been loved. You are loved. And you will be loved. You're doing all right. And I just wanted to say that to you. Well done. Thank you for joining me for my podcast this morning. I didn't cough. Yes. And I hope, as I said, that helped a bit. And I appreciate any feedback that you have. And even if it means you want me to do it a different way or whatever, I'll listen. And know that you are loved, please. It's so important to know that during these times. And remember, it's all about healing. Heal. Whatever that means to what needs to be done. Thank you again. Have a wonderful Sunday. If you're watching the Super Bowl, I hope your team wins. Thank you again. All the best.